Good morning, my loves. Are you laughing at the fact that I'm already crying because of the story I'm going to tell you about people who changed my life? This one is called Mrs. Archer. So I went to college late because of the paralysis and the wheelchair, and then I got a scholarship for disabled people to go to this college. And I hadn't been to much of high school, and I didn't even know very much how to be social. And so the very first class that I was going to go to was by an English teacher named Mrs. Archer. And I had already heard how formidable she was, how judgmental she was, how she never cracked a smile. She didn't seem to understand humor. And so I was a little bit hesitant, but I go to her class, and it was true that, she wasn't friendly and welcoming, but I liked what she was teaching during that class. I can't remember what it was. And so I was very engaged. So I thought, my first class in college, because I was a few years older than anybody else because I couldn't go to school before. And at the end of the class, she dismissed everybody, of course. And then she looked at me and she said, "You will stay after class." And I thought, my God, have I already pissed her off? What have I done that would make her keep me after class? After everybody had left, I rolled my chair up to her desk, and she just looked at me and she said, "You are my new assistant." And I thought, what? I don't know anything. I didn't even go to much of high school. I don't know how to be her assistant. And maybe she knew that I needed to create income to help pay for college along with my scholarship. I don't know. But so she was not somebody you could argue with, and it was just a done deal. So I showed up at her office, and the first few days were so to speak. She would just hand me papers and say, "Grade these." And these were things that people had written about various works of literature. And I didn't know how to grade. But she said, "You'll figure it out. You know what's real. You know what's, we'll just say not real," because her language was pretty spicy. And she said, "And I want you to write comments at the end of each paper that you grade and tell them what you wish they had done differently." So I was intrigued and I was afraid, but I did it, and I guess it was okay. So one day I went to her office, and there was a note on the door, and it said, "Go upstairs and teach my senior class about the following Shakespearean play." And I can't even remember what it was, but I knew for sure that I hadn't read it. But she wasn't there to argue with, as if you could argue with her anyway. And so I went upstairs and I said, "Hi, I'm wondering what we can teach each other about this play and how it is representative of your life." And we got into this great discussion. It was amazing. And apparently she received rave reviews because they finally understood that Shakespeare was talking about real people. So, life continues, and about 3 months into me working for her, I went to her office, and she said, "I want you to go over to the library and get the original Greek edition of this certain play." And I said, "I don't speak Greek." She said, "It doesn't matter." And I said, "Yes, it really does matter. I don't know how to translate Greek." She said, "You'll figure it out. You always do." So I went to the library and I got a Greek dictionary, and I just started reading the play. I mean, the alphabet is different. Everything is different. But I would just type in a few words and find out in the dictionary what this phrase meant. And somehow I don't know, I just absorbed the energy of it. And so I wrote her a report just thinking, I'm a total fake. I have no idea what I should be saying. But I wrote my report for her, and I went back and put it on her desk, and she looked at it and she said, "Do you understand that this is profound, and this is what critics have been asking over the years, and you took it to the next step?" I'm not telling you this to impress you. I am telling you because what I learned from her is that you can do anything. Because that's what she told me. She just said, "Donna, if you put your mind to it, and you have been given a good brain, and you've been given intuitive information," how'd she even know about that? "And so you can do anything." So after that year, she retired. And the cool thing was that I became her friend. She wasn't social. She didn't go to any of the social events of the college. But she would have me over, and she would cook dinner for me. And we would just sit there and talk about doing the impossible. And my God, that changed my life forever. So thank you, Mrs. Archer.